In Formula One, money helps, but it doesn't guarantee anything. For every fairy tale rise, there's a manufacturer-backed project that arrived with infinite confidence, state-of-the-art facilities, and a budget that made privateer teams look like they were racing on pocket change, only to leave with nothing but excuses. Today, we're diving into the most expensive F1 car projects that failed miserably. Projects where the resources were there, the expectations were sky high, and the results were, at best, embarrassing, and, at worst, historically disastrous. And the most important point of all, these weren't just slow cars. These were big ideas that collapsed under politics, corporate culture, technical misreads, and the brutal reality that F1 punishes hesitation. Let's start with the heavyweight champion of how did this not work, Toyota. Toyota entered Formula One in 2002 as a full-works operation building both the chassis and the engine, and that alone is a monster challenge. They didn't come in to learn quietly. They came in with the kind of corporate confidence you only see when a company is used to dominating industries. But after 8 seasons, Toyota walked away at the end of 2009 without a single race win, despite billions spent, despite massive infrastructure, and despite moments where victory was right there. Their record, 3 pole positions and 13 podiums across 139 Grands Prix, looks like almost, until you remember what Toyota had: a Cologne base packed with investment, global engineering talent, and the ability to hire almost anyone. This should have been an era-defining success story. Instead, it became arguably the biggest failure in Grand Prix history when you weigh the expectations against the outcome. Toyota's problems started before they even raced. They originally planned a V12 engine project, but rule direction and political pressure pushed the sport toward V10s. So Toyota scrapped the V12 work and delayed their entry. They spent 2001 pounding out test miles, over 20,000 kilometers, yet the early car was heavy and short on downforce, which is basically the worst combination you can bring to F1. Technical leadership churn followed, and even in year 1, supposedly a learning season, the results triggered disappointment rather than patience. That mindset matters, because F1 is as psychological as it is technical. If your organization starts blaming symptoms instead of causes, you waste seasons chasing ghosts. Toyota even had moments where the finger-pointing aimed at drivers for not braking as late as rivals, ignoring that less downforce is less braking performance. That's not just a misunderstanding, it's a cultural warning sign. And that brings us to the heart of Toyota's tragedy, the Toyota way. On road cars, Toyota's philosophy is legendary: process discipline, consistency, careful decision-making, continuous improvement. But F1 is not a factory producing a million units. F1 is a knife fight where development cycles are measured in days, not quarters. Toyota's corporate ideology became a straitjacket. Decision-making was slow, bold individual brilliance was constrained, and the team struggled to adapt its internal culture to the short, sharp rhythm of a race season. Even when Toyota hired strong people, the environment often made it hard for them to operate like true F1 leaders. And when momentum finally started building, especially after Mike Gascoigne arrived and helped lay groundwork that produced Toyota's best season in 2005, the organization still couldn't fully commit to the aggressive, flexible mentality needed to jump from podiums to wins. Toyota's 2006 season is a perfect example of how corporate priorities can sabotage racing logic. A tire switch from Michelin to Bridgestone was imposed from Japan against the preferences of the technical group, and it didn't fit the suspension concept the car carried over. In a sport where tires can define your entire aerodynamic platform and balance window, that kind of top-down decision can destroy a season before it begins. Toyota also struggled with the politics of the era. While rivals lobbied hard for advantages during the engine freeze period, Toyota was less willing to play that game, And they made self-limiting choices like basing the project in Cologne instead of embedding deeply into the UK's F1 talent ecosystem, great for facilities, harder for recruitment, and worse for fast, informal communication. In F1, "we'll decide tomorrow" can cost months. The cruelest twist is that Toyota came closest to winning in 2009, the year they quit. The TF109 had real speed at times and featured key concepts like the double diffuser-era solutions that defined the grid. Early podiums gave the sense that the breakthrough was finally coming, but strategic mistakes, like tire decisions in Bahrain after running first and second, killed what could have been a landmark victory. And at Spa, there was another massive what-if, with pace that could have converted into a win without the wrong kind of bad luck at the wrong time. By the end of the year, the global economic crisis provided the perfect exit ramp, but it still leaves the same haunting conclusion. Toyota had everything, learned painfully slowly, and left just as they were beginning to behave like a modern F1 team, only without the prize that would justify the entire era. Now, Toyota is the headline act, but they're not alone. Another expensive manufacturer-flavored failure, this time through chaos rather than patience, was Jaguar under Ford. Ford bought the Stewart team and rebranded it as Jaguar in 2000, aiming to create a British Ferrari image with an iconic badge. What followed was a case study in corporate interference and revolving door management. On paper, this should have been an immediate contender. Ford had money, scale, and the ability to build a long-term program. In reality, the project became unstable. Budgets were cut, leadership changed repeatedly, and the team never finished higher than 7th in the constructors' standings. There were flashes, Eddie Irvine podiums, Mark Webber dragging performances out of the car, but the structure never hardened into a winning machine. And the ultimate punchline is brutal. Ford sold the team, Red Bull bought it, and within a few years it was a front-runner, eventually winning multiple championships. That doesn't just say Jaguar failed, it says the platform was capable, but the corporate execution was not. Some failures come from bad partnerships rather than full works teams, and that's where the Prost-Peugeot alliance belongs. Peugeot entered F1 engine, supplying after major sports car success, and initially grabbed podiums, but reliability and performance concerns plus poor working relationships killed the first big marriage. Then came the Prost era, and it was a disaster. A combination of political friction, underwhelming results, and a partnership that never stabilized. Engine programs are insanely expensive, but they're also political weapons. Your engine isn't just horsepower, it's trust, packaging, integration, and a shared development roadmap. Prost-Peugeot showed what happens when that trust isn't there. You can pour resources into development and still never build momentum because the whole operation is fighting itself. And sometimes the failure isn't subtle, it's physically heavy. Footwork Porsche in 1991 is one of those notorious mismatches where the engine simply didn't belong in the era. The Porsche 512 was overweight and underpowered compared to what was needed, and the partnership collapsed almost immediately. In F1 terms, overweight is not a small flaw. It wrecks the center of gravity, the tire load profile, the gearbox stresses, the cooling packaging, and the car's basic balance philosophy. If the engine is wrong, the car becomes a compromised sculpture built around a mistake, and even unlimited money can't undo time. That project is a reminder that big brand doesn't equal right solution, especially when the technical concept is rooted in the past. Subaru's forgotten F1 attempt with Colony is another example of ambition colliding with reality. Subaru bought into the struggling team and brought a heavy flat 12 engine concept that simply didn't fit what F1 demanded. The car was uncompetitive, failed repeatedly to qualify, and the project ended almost as soon as it began. What makes this kind of failure especially painful is that it's expensive in the worst way. You spend money without even generating meaningful data because the baseline is so far off that your test results are basically telling you, start over. And in F1, start over often means quit. Then there's Lamborghini's early 90s adventure, an engine effort that flirted with being meaningful, had moments of intrigue, and even brushed against McLaren dreams, but never became a true success. There was a pseudo-works vibe with a team that struggled, and even when the engine showed promise in testing, enough to impress elite eyes, it never translated into a committed, stable F1 program. The result? A costly flirtation rather than a sustained assault. In the context of F1, flirting is expensive because you still pay the full price for seriousness, R&D, staffing, test programs, but you don't stay long enough to harvest the results. Alfa Romeo's return as a constructor also belongs in the big ambition, poor outcome category. The project carried heritage weight. This is a brand tied to the earliest F1 championship history. Yet the modern campaign didn't deliver what the name suggested. Management tension, restructuring, and uneven performance turned what should have been a proud revival into an exhausting slog that eventually ended without the success the badge promised. F1 has no mercy for nostalgia. If the car is compromised and the organization is unstable, history doesn't give you lap time. And to prove that even legendary sports car brands can miss the moment entirely, look at Aston Martin's late 50s, early 60s Grand Prix effort. The car debuted effectively obsolete because the sport had pivoted toward rear-engine designs, and Aston's project, focused elsewhere and late to the revolution, never became competitive in championship terms. That's not just a technical failure, it's a timing failure. In F1, arriving late with the wrong concept is like showing up to a gunfight with a beautiful antique sword. It may be art, but it's not winning. Now, the reason these stories matter isn't to laugh at failure. It's to understand what F1 actually rewards. It rewards speed of decision-making, ruthless prioritization, deep technical leadership, and a culture that lets the smartest people act fast. Toyota's story shows what happens when corporate ideology slows racing instincts. Jaguar shows what happens when the top layer keeps changing the rules of the game. Prost Peugeot shows what happens when partnerships become political battles. Footwork Porsche and Subaru show what happens when the technical foundation is wrong from day one. And hovering over all of it is the brutal truth highlighted by lists of infamous failed cars. Even giants like Ferrari and McLaren have produced machines that simply miss the target because F1 isn't about reputation. It's about whether your concept works this season, under these rules, against rivals who are evolving every week. So when you hear the most expensive projects, don't just think of money burned. Think of the bigger cost, years of effort, thousands of specialists, careers spent chasing a goal that the organization itself made harder to reach. And that's why Toyota stands at the top of this mountain of disappointment, because if they couldn't buy their way to a win, then nobody can. In Formula One, you don't purchase success. You earn it through speed, culture, leadership, and the ability to change faster than the stopwatch.